Hello? Sounded like you've been introduced to Karl Marx or something like that. Yeah, our leader, comrades. Okay. So I just want to echo really a heartfelt thank you. It's incredibly humbling to see so many people come together. Now, I'm going to try and keep kind of as objective as possible and to try and keep on point. I can't promise that I won't get a bit emotional, a bit vulnerable. Men are not supposed to do that, right? Especially not hard men, right? But there's been, I think, enormous challenges and enormous opportunities. So I guess I would just like to revisit some of our speakers. Aubrey and Vicky, thank you so much. Thank you for the work you guys do. Thank you for the trust in us, in our team, in our organisation. And I really hope that we get the opportunity to get some money off of you again in the future, so that we can do more wonderful work. As you hopefully have gathered by now, this organisation is a big heart. And I also do want to talk about Mark and Neil Johns as well. So I think Oxford has been a very, one of quite a few local authorities who have been quite open to working collaboratively. I love the fact that they've got an open door policy, but the bottom line is that to work with Oxford, you have to be delivering that standard. And I don't think that that's unfair. I don't think that should be unfair of anybody. I don't think it's too big an ask. One of the other things that I wanted to do was to talk about Asha, Dr. Asha Patel. Now, we may have varying degrees of differences. My clinical supervisor is Dr. Nicholas Serling, so you probably guess which side of the, let's say, philosophical lane I'm in. And maybe if I can just briefly unpack, I'm not here to kind of like give a commentary on Nicholas's presentation. I think he's done that quite well. But I think that what we're really talking about is language. So if you don't have a language in which to describe something, then someone will give you a language. And that's so disempowering, because we've lost things like frightened, afraid, sad, lonely, broken, isolated. These are all just words that have in them meaning that's poured into them through our own experiences. Now, when children are young, of course, not only are their bodies developing and their minds developing and their souls and their spirits, but so is their language, and so the ability for which the children have to be able to communicate their experiences, their repertoire for doing that is severely impaired. It's impaired because they're a child, but it's increasingly impaired because they're a child facing suffering, adversity, a lack of love and safety. Now, we live in a broken world. I don't think that there's anybody here that can prove to me or would argue with my position. If you think that we live in a utopia, then please send me your address, email me so that I can join you there, because, this world is a broken world, and yet we choose to blindly ignore it. Why? Because maybe it's painful to admit the reality that we're not quite where we would like to be, that the world isn't quite as we feel it should be, that there's something missing, we're missing the mark. And so, again, harping back, I suppose, and I've got huge respect and admiration for you, Luke. Thank you. And the I suppose the similarity is that after a life I had led, which was on very different backgrounds, very different experiences, but obviously one that brought me back to Christ, one that brought me back to my faith. And I think that I just loved your going through and eyes fixed on the cross. because we're given an example of suffering. You know, if you live, if you're alive, you will suffer. Being human means you will suffer. There is no escape. You can avoid it, you can get drunk, you can take drugs, you can sleep around, you can do whatever you want. You can deny it. But unless you accept that something isn't quite right, then I guess we're on the wrong road. And sometimes life breaks us. Sometimes it causes such enormous suffering that we have nothing else to do except to crawl up inside ourselves. And yeah, either we give up and it ends. You know, I talk about it in my book, trauma work as they call it, and I've given it a colloquial term. However, what I'm really talking about is going alongside people who have had tremendously painful experiences that have caused such ruptures in their souls, and being there with them. So when somebody tells me the most scariest, painful experience or remembering something, they don't want to see me faced. They don't want me to say, wow. They already feel like there's something wrong with them. The only thing that's wrong is that they're led to believe that there's something wrong with them. They're having a normal reaction to an abnormal experience. It's not normal to abuse children. It's not normal to have people torn from your life. It's not. So, hang on a minute. Right, so, I did say that I might get emotional, but I'm going to do my best to keep it together. So, the whole point, I suppose, of my book was to kind of reach out and break down some of the misconceptions about what a group CEO or a founder or a social entrepreneur or whatever label you want to give me. I don't really care. You know, it might be arsehole. You know, you can give me that label if you want to. However, I think that's reserved for my wife. So. However, it's in my, to not get too far away from all the talkers from Angie Dyson, from all the wonderful people who we work with, I also want to give special thanks to Maxine, to Matt, to Julia, to so many people, to Nick Jones, who's been with us as an accountant and an auditor since 2004, and then to Anne, who's come up and helped us kind of develop into the group structure, to Matt, again, guy who doesn't get, in truth, he doesn't get a lot of recognition. And a lot of people, and I understand that you might not want to, but it's important that people get acknowledged for the contributions that they make. And Matt perhaps is kind of underestimated, and he gets a lot of crap from a lot of people. You know, it's often he's in a job where there's not many people he can please. Everybody wants something and everybody's got a complaint. And Matt's just got like an incredible temperament most of the time, right? To be able to manage that. And there's so many of you who've been part of the journey. My wife, who is the CEO of Apoca, again, I want to obviously recognise Annetta, and I think that Apoca grew out of an idea which was meant to be a support group. So again, it's proof that you can take something that's just an idea, that's informed by love, to reach out to other people, to try and reach into their suffering and to give them an arm, to try and pull them out. Okay, so
and it's a clap.
So yeah, there's so many profound examples of suffering in the world, but there's also so many more profound examples of people being resilient, and rising above and overcoming No, this is where we might differ. Some people might think that it comes from within themselves. Me personally, I'm with Luke. My strength to overcome comes from Christ. It doesn't come from myself. That's my fundamental belief. Now, a lot of people might go, Colin's gone, wahoo. It's too late. I went wahoo a long time ago. So, as many people might think that I look like maybe I have a modicum of normality about me, there is nothing wrong about Colin. Most of the time, I'm absolutely shocked because I didn't consider myself competent, capable, intelligent. Many people would probably still agree with that, right? But it's not about that. There's a different kind of, I suppose, natural intelligence which transcends our abilities, and that's what I've leaned into. I'm only here today because people cared enough to reach into my suffering. And my book chronicles, I suppose, my story, not to glorify it, not to give too much emphasis to the perpetrators, to the people who are the big, scary, bad people in the world who get far too much attention. No, it's about knowing that, and this is going back to Nicholas's point, I think, is that if we dress ourselves up in fragility, then we can never overcome. And if you don't believe that, then look around you. Because when I was, even before I could remember anything, I had my dad, who I've never met, chased my mum and me because he wanted to kill both of us. He was a violent, psychotic, lost and broken, bad human being. And then my mum, lost, vulnerable, scared, took to the arms of what would later become the man who would rape me for well over 10 years. And so I lived in an unimaginable world, a world that I know that maybe some of you can relate to. I hope most of you can. And I had to go through an unending series of suffering, being lost. I had no family, nowhere to go, no one to hear me, no one to care. Now, that's the one thing that I think I was talking to Kevin before I came up here. And what comes over again and again is the destruction of the family. And what does God want us to do? He wants us to have a family. He says that we are created in His image and likeness. We're not mammalian. So Dr. Ash Patel talks about us as animals are mammalian. So we are kind of a developing brain. We're just a series of interconnected tissues with some kind of consciousness. Despite all the evidence pointing in the opposite direction of that, we are created in the image and likeness of God. Whether we like it or not, whether we deny that, whether we accept that. And in the second remark to that, in the image and likeness of God, the next remark from God is that we are very good. So we're not like some beautiful jewel covered, kind of covered up with crap to be unearthed. We have God written in our heart. We are naturally good people. We are made in the image and likeness of the Creator of the entire universe. And we probably, maybe a lot of us don't believe it, or maybe we do. I know that for a long time I was afraid, I was embarrassed to talk about my inclinations towards belief. I was an ardent agnostic, an ardent atheist, an existential, into the depths of existential philosophy. I was, Sartrean. I was, into nihilism in a big, big way. And I ignored all the other thinkers, I ignored all the other philosophers, I ignored all the other contributors. We're not mammals, we're not animals, we are not just a bag of bones and cells and non-relevant. We're made in the image and likeness of God. There is, and this is the bit that I suppose where we get convicted, or where I was pierced, is that God loves all of us. It doesn't take away the judgment, it doesn't take away the responsibility, it doesn't take away the end, the teleos, if you like. It doesn't take away from any of that. But we are made in the image and likeness of God, and we're good, and we are loved. And there is nobody that you will look at, whether they are a paedophile, a rapist, a murderer, or whether they are a successful or family man or mum, or who God doesn't love, who God didn't create. We're not accidents. We didn't just get here by chance. I know that Darwin wants to tell that story. I know that people just want to say that we are over-conflated, that we think far too much of ourselves in order to consider ourselves as almost irrelevant. And so we create a facade of relevance. That's not true, it's a lie. The world constantly lies to us, the media constantly lies to us, and yet we cling to those lies because it gives us words to use, it gives us an identity, it chimes with something inside of us. And we can either accept those lies, and we can accept those limitations. And I think this is getting back to a lot of what Luke was talking about, and what Nicholas was talking about, because I think there are two different ways of looking at the same thing. Pain is real, suffering is real. It's devastating. Sometimes it devastates people to the point of death, and there is no return in this physical world for that. However, there is always hope. Where there's breath, there's hope. Where there's an opportunity, there's hope. And I think here in Chrysalis Group, I don't really want to focus on the fact that I believe from a financial point of view, an investment point of view, although I believe it is true, I believe we're a sleeping giant, I believe there's going to be big things in the world, of which I probably won't be around to see, but that's good. But I think it's up to us to take responsibility. It's up to us to stop blaming ourselves and stop blaming each other. I was thinking about the word responsibility, and in the 12-step program, of which I used to be a part, there's a section that says, through our inability to accept personal responsibility, we were actually creating our own problems. They applied that to addicts and alcoholics. I think it applies to all of us. It applies definitely to me. If I avoid taking personal responsibility, then I create my own problems. And so I was thinking about our drug and alcohol services. When people used to come through the door, the first thing we did was strip search them. So we made them empty everything they had, and we strip searched them, and I mean strip searched in every conceivable place. And then we sent them into a room of people that they didn't know, and then we kind of left them alone for the day. They kind of would have a meal and settle in. They'd be introduced to some things that maybe they were kind of familiar with. Sometimes people go through rehabs quite a lot. Sometimes it's their first time. And then the very next thing we tell them to do is to go to bed and turn the light on and to go to sleep. And in the next morning we tell them what time to get up, and we tell them to make the bed. Basically we tell them the cure, if you like, if you want to call it that, to your ailments is personal responsibility. And we're going to be good parents. We are going to be parents who tell you things you might not want to hear, but we're going to be caring, we're going to tell you the truth. We're not going to lie to you. And that's important. It's important that we don't get drawn into the lies of the world. And I can tell you, as a person who, I'm a therapist, I've studied, I've worked with a lot of people, I've done a lot of things in my life. And I can tell you, I haven't found any magic cure. There's no magic bullet. It's not out there. The only thing I'm aware of is going through, being beside the suffering. And sometimes all you can do as a friend, as a mum, as a dad, as a wife, as a therapist, a counsellor, a support worker, is just witness it. Just witness it. Don't be anxious and try and give answers when you don't have them. Just be there. So, okay. I guess it's been more amazing than I thought it would be. I want to thank everybody for coming. I know some of you have travelled a long way. I really appreciate whatever your reasons, whatever part of the organisation you came to support. I'm truly grateful. And I want to thank you, Malcolm. I want to thank all the board, all the Neds, the new Ned. Really important work that you do. Really important in maintaining the integrity, the governance, the direction, supporting the strategy. It's really, really important. Today you get an opportunity to see what the work does. Not what it's about, but what it does. And that's important. So, safe journeys. Thank you so much. I'm going to leave it there before I blubber on anymore.